What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Nerf Star Wars Amban Face Pulse Blaster. Sorry if I butchered that, I'm a foam flinging reviewer, not a Star Wars reviewer. But this blaster by Nerf is a Nerf limited prop style blaster looking like something out of Star Wars. Cosmetically, it looks really cool, but mechanically, it's a very simple spring powered single shot breech loading blaster. Let's get into the review. Included is the blaster, darts, and instructions. External overview of the blaster, starting up at the front. There's no in-strike barrel lug, but it does have this wicked cool muzzle device. Is it a bayonet? Is it something else? I don't know. It looks pretty snazzy, but there's nothing to manipulate or to control up here. Over on this side, we have the battery tray. These batteries are responsible for the light and the scope and the sound effects. They are not necessary to fire the blaster. Moving on to the scope, cosmetically it looks pretty cool, but you can't actually look through this scope. Nerf has in the past distorted the scope, but I have not seen this level of distortion. You actually can't see through it at all. But when you press this button right here, a red light turns on inside the scope, illuminating it. It doesn't help you aim at all, but you can see it from the back, and if you're pointing it at someone, they can see the light too, which is cosmetically pretty cool. Moving back to the breech and the priming handle, which is very unique for Nerf. This is a pretty cool system. So the first step is to move this white slide forward like that. That opens up the breech and exposes the single barrel right here. So to load, you get one dart. This is a single shot blaster, and you load it in like that, and then push this gate down. Cool sound effect activates when you shut the breech. So now you have a round loaded in the chamber. To prime back the spring in order to fire, you pull back on the white piece like that, and now I am primed, chambered, and ready to fire. So when you pull the trigger, it fires the dart and it activates the little sound effect. You have to do that every time you want to fire. It's a pretty slow to fire blaster. That being said, it is a pretty cool experience to breech load with a wonky blaster like this. It's not very battle efficient, but it's pretty fun. Loading and firing it in real time. And the sound effect will activate whether or not it's loaded, so you can run around and make noise like that without firing. This loading mechanism is unique. It's definitely different. It takes a little getting used to, so I'd recommend you shoot it 30 or 40 times before you judge it. It is slow, it is inefficient, but it adds to the emotional response of using a blaster like this. And obviously this blaster as a single shot gigantic breech loader is not meant to be a competitive Nerf blaster. So it's all about the emotions, and in that regard, I think it succeeds. Now down to the trigger. The trigger pull is pretty standard, and of course this blaster does not have slam fire. Over on the left-hand side, it has what appears to be a sling mount, but this seems to be really weak plastic. It looks pretty cool cosmetically, but I really think it would rip off the blaster if you really tried to sling this blaster. And now back to the grip and the stock. It looks like they forgot to install the grip, but this is just a wonky design. The ergonomics of this are really strange. I don't know enough about Star Wars to know who this blaster is actually designed for. But if you fire it from the hip, it's reasonably comfortable. If you want to shoulder it, you don't have a grip, so you end up firing it like an RPG almost. So the ergo on this blaster is really quite strange. That being said, after firing it a few dozen times, I found out kind of a comfortable way to do it. Again, it's not that battle effective, but considering how weird it looks, it's surprisingly easy to use, if that makes sense. This stock is permanently attached in there. It's not adjustable or removable. Lots of cosmetically stimulating things to look at in this blaster, but nothing else mechanically to cover in the overview. Now I'll show you the blaster firing. Shooting standard blue Nerf Elite darts. Shooting this blaster was surprisingly fun. The breech loading system is very unique, and while it's mechanically pretty complicated, I did not experience any jams or malfunctions. But the performance is nothing to write home about. To compare it to other blasters, I put it up on my chronograph and achieved an average muzzle velocity of 64 feet per second firing Nerf Elite darts, which is below the 70 FPS Elite par compared to other blasters on the market right now, but given the length of this barrel, 64 FPS is a lot higher than I was expecting. Given its prop status, I was expecting 50 FPS, so 64 is not great, but it's not terrible. So that is the objective information I can provide on this blaster. Now to my personal opinion. Overall, I had an okay emotional response to using this blaster. It was reasonably fun for a few minutes. I really enjoyed using the breech loading system. I haven't used anything else like this. That being said, after shooting it a few hundred times, it did become a little boring. Visually, it's very stimulating and interesting to look at, but then using it, it's just a single shot breech loader. But I'm a foam flinger, I'm a nerfer, I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I'm coming at this from a different angle than most people who are going to be purchasing this. So mechanically it works okay, it's not great, but it's not terrible, and visually it's really quite stimulating. However, my biggest complaint about this blaster is my expectations were not met based on the price point and the advertising around this blaster. For the MSRP, I was expecting a higher quality build. I was expecting something with a little bit more heft. It feels very cheap and plasticky. If the MSRP of this blaster was $40 or $50, I'd say that's pretty good. If you're a real big Star Wars fan, go out and buy it. But at over $100, my expectations were just not met. Expectations are a very subjective matter. I don't know what you're expecting out of a product like this, but I was expecting something a little higher quality. It's not that cheap feeling, and I'm not trying to complain about the product that's in my hands. If someone handed this to me and said, I bought this for $40, I'd say, okay, cool, that's pretty good. But at over $100, I can't help but think most people, especially prop people who are way more detail-oriented than me, are just going to be disappointed once you have this in your hands. Which transitions me into the question to buy or not to buy. If you're a competitive nerfer, obviously no. It's a single-shot breech-loading blaster bros. Obviously, this is not going to win any Nerf wars. This product was not designed for people like me who enjoy flinging foam. This is a prop-style blaster that happens to fire foam darts. The foam launching ability is actually better than a lot of other prop blasters on the market, so that's pretty cool. And visually, when you look at it in pictures or even on this video, it looks pretty cool. But if you're like a hardcore prop guy or like a hardcore Star Wars fan and you're spending over $100, I really just don't think this blaster is going to meet your expectations. But if you are a Star Wars guy and this ever goes on sale and you can buy it for 40 or 50 bucks, I do think you could be happy with it. So this buy recommendation is weird. I think it's an okay product. I just think it's wildly overpriced. And my perception of money is different than your perception of money, so I can't really give you an opinion unless we both have the same perception of money. I'm sorry, that's a scrambled opinion. To buy or not to buy, if you can get this for 50 bucks and you're a hardcore Star Wars fan and a prop guy who wants this because it's visually very cool looking, you should pick it up. But my expectations were not met, and I would not be satisfied as a normal consumer if I spent this amount of money on this end result. I'll stop now because I'm going in circles. Hopefully I've laid out all the information you need to make an educated purchase decision. If you're interested in buying one of these, I'll try to put a buy link in the description box below. That's it for this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.